what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Girls Frontline reaction. Today it's Girls Frontline 2. I think it's actually been a second since we've listened to something specifically from Girls Frontline 2, but this is a GhostFinal song. It's Aurora in the Snow. This was requested by Pure Lunari, and that's really all the information I've got. I know it's GhostFinal, so it could go either way with like being a metal song. It could be something a little bit more electronic. I've heard plenty of GhostFinal's work before, but I never know exactly what to expect out of the song itself, so I won't know if I don't get started. And without further ado, let's go! Metal! Alright. Time for the riff drive. Let's go. Woo! Snare roll to start it off. Just a ghost note roll, like really consistent. Damn. Whew. Kind of a fun drum pattern. This is way heavier than I expected to hear. I don't think I've ever heard Kinoko sing like that. I've heard them feature on a number of GhostFinal songs. I don't think they've ever done like a Fry scream. Oh, wait. This might be them. I was like, wait. I didn't... Some people can scream that you would never expect. But maybe that was somebody else. This is Kinoko. I don't know. Can Kinoko scream, or was that like GhostFinal doing that? Really, really creative patterns on the kit, especially. And then strong with that guitar solo. Jesus, not the sound I was anticipating, but you know what? A welcome surprise for sure. At this very point in time, my experience with the Girls Frontline music scene and GhostFinal have been fairly sparse, so I can't actually remember if I've heard GhostFinal do direct metal like this, because I just don't remember if I've ever heard them approach a song as heavy as this. I feel like I've heard them put some elements of metal into other songs, but usually GhostFinal tends to be a lot more electronic, so I just didn't anticipate this sound. This is kind of more similar to what Cosmograph does, where it's like a blend of like metal and electronic stuff, albeit this song was just pretty much straight metal all the way through. There wasn't anything notably electronic in this song, at least nothing that wasn't just kind of a simple filter on something else, and I mean, shit, he rocked it. That was really good. I especially love the creativity on the pattern and the drums. Like, multiple times through this, I'm like, oh, they listened. Like, GhostFinal did their research on the genre in order to make it sound as competent as it does. A lot of people who do this sort of thing for games tend to make a lot of genres, and not all the time do they actually do the research to figure out what makes specific genres tick and makes them sound good. I think GhostFinal did. I don't know if GhostFinal's was just a casual enjoyer of metal in general, but this was very like, it had some like chuggy stuff that was a little bit more genty. It had some more creativity in that like pattern space, a little bit more of like a prog feel to it, but it was just core. That's really what it was. It was a very core approach to metal, and it was metal core in that way. So it's like, hey, this is kind of a surprise for me that he was able to do this so well, and I appreciate the effort put into it, even if they are just a casual fan and utilizing that for once to be able to put it into their own music, because sometimes you just love other genres, but you don't get the chance when you're commissioned by a company to tell them what they want, they tell you. So you just don't get that experience to be able to make what you want a lot of the time. Maybe GhostFinal is just a metalhead at heart. That could have been how it always has been. But just all the experience I've had with GhostFinal hasn't really been that. Like, I've heard a number of collaborations that GhostFinal has done with like Fluorite and of course Kinoko, but I think this is the first one that azusaTaxhi has been on, and I've only recently heard some more of their songs, and they're kind of more what I would expect to do something a little bit more like this, to have that flair in there, and since they were doing the guitars on this, that totally makes sense. That influence is totally there as far as the collaboration of those sounds go. But this also shows me that GhostFinal knows how to handle that genre very well, even if they weren't the ones writing the guitar parts, and they could have been, and maybe it was just performed by azusaTaxhi. But it's also very possible that Azusa did all the guitar stuff, and then GhostFinal did all of the general production stuff around it, and didn't really have a hand in the guitars. It could have been really either way, I don't know. But either way, their collaboration did a very good job here. I'm assuming that since only the guitars were credited to Azusa, that GhostFinal did all the drum stuff, and again, really nice drum work here. A lot of technical stuff, like having those like very close, like almost snare roll-esque ghost notes on the kit. Like, that's something that people who don't listen to metal don't tend to notice a lot of the time. It's one of those tiny finite details that drummers do to keep things going and keep the kit rolling while the rest of the song is going on, so it doesn't get lost in the mix, but also isn't something that somebody who's just like a standard like guitarist trying to make metal would know about. It's something that you don't pick up on unless you're a composer, a real musician who understands how all of the parts of a song and all the instruments within make a track stand out. And GhostFinal did it here. Some great guitar parts, of course, some awesome drum work in there, some great fills, not overdoing it, but also just keeping it friendly to the genre, having enough movement, having some interesting snare patterning, and just in general, just the beat itself was very solid all the way through. And I don't get to hear too much of that because it's not something genre-wise that I hear too terribly much of in any of these games. But when I do, it is usually either really bad or really good, and I try to be as nice as I can when it's not that great, but I won't lie to people either and tell them it's great when it's not. So this one, really good. Up there. Really up there, especially in the just general metal side of gaming music I've heard. This one has some definite attention to detail and just love and appreciation for that genre. And part of me wants to do the devil's advocate thing of going, well, maybe they were just told to make it in this genre and GhostFinal doesn't give a shit about this genre, and maybe they were doing everything they see as stereotypical about this sound. But you know what? They did it really well, even if that's what they were going for and not caring. But I want to believe that GhostFinal put in some major effort to this and put some love and care in there that wasn't necessarily required, but definitely respectable in that same way. Because like sometimes even the most stereotypical stuff, even the stuff that doesn't necessarily stand out, can just be good for its own simplicity. You don't have to go hardcore on everything. You can make something that's a little bit simple and still have it be good. This is above that for sure, but I'm trying to do benefit of the doubt here and assume that GhostFinal did their work because it sounds like they did their research and understood the genre and understood the assignment, made a great song here, and had a lot of fun doing it. My only other question is, who were the rough vocals in there? Was that Kinoko? Like, what? I mean, it could have been anyone. It could have been Azusa for all I know, but part of me wonders if they didn't just like have Kinoko do that and then just heavily distort the vocals to sound a little bit more like a scream or like a kind of a vocal fry growl of sorts, because it didn't sound necessarily clear like somebody who would be trained in that or have experience doing it. But it could have been anyone in this production that they were like, okay, we need to do this. I'll do it, and then I'll put a bunch of effects on it and hoping that nobody would notice or care. And honestly, honestly, it kind of worked out. Even though it wasn't super strong, and there's probably a reason for that, it still sounded kind of neat in the mix of everything else. It was more of a texture, less of a vocal line. And you know, I mean, when you've got Kinoko coming in very shortly after to like pick up the slack, if there was any, you know, it works. I'm not going to get nitpicky about that. I think it sounded pretty good for what it was, even if it was fairly subtle. It's still a really good thing to include, because I don't feel like you could do this genre and not really have some of that harsher vocal in there. Something would feel like it's missing. So the inclusion of it, even if it was minor, still a really nice thing to have there. But I also think I've been yapping about this one for a surprising amount of time, so I'm going to call it here. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you have anything else you want me to get to from Girls Frontline, by all means drop it in the comments below, and I will do my best as always to get to it. Recently, GFL has kind of been falling to the wayside as something that's not a priority on my list, but I don't want to not listen to songs. I still want to listen to Girls Frontline stuff, but view counts, as this is my job now, a full-time, does kind of play a part in that, and these have been struggling a little bit, so it's been kind of put to the side compared to other stuff, but I still want to listen to more. So if you have songs you want me to listen to, drop them in the comments. Have people like them so I can see them and that I actually get to them, because the highest like usually wins, and that'll keep me going on it for a while. But it's also just the truth that since this is my job, I have to prioritize things that are doing better on the channel. So if you want me to keep doing these consistently, by all means, drop them down there, have a bunch of people like it, and I will get to it for sure. But just a forewarning that has been a little bit of an issue recently for GFL, and I don't want to stop doing these, so please make it happen. But otherwise, if you just like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!